That graph is actually amazing because it literally goes from the lowest point in a year, or maybe over a year, right, to the highest point within a month. And that's showing you the spring market. That's showing you, all right, January, where everybody's like still on vacation. And then all of a sudden February crushes in. We're seeing multiple contracts.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 DC area real estate trends to watch in 2024.
All right.
So, we did kind of a recap episode, a catch-up episode, if you will, last week, where it's just us two. It's just us two again. Mm-hmm. I kind of like it. It's more intimate, it's more conversational, it's more low-key.
Feels good, Matt.
When we have a guest on, it's different dynamic.
Yes.
So, going back to our roots, and let's start by taking a look at the article. It's from Washingtonian.com, a great publication. I don't know if you go there. Every now and then I look at Washingtonian, and it's like 5 great Airbnbs outside of the DC area to spend a weekend. And I refuse to share those articles because my Airbnb is not mentioned. So until my Airbnb is good enough to be in those Washingtonian articles, I will be sharing them with everyone that I know.
Matt, I think it's good enough. I mean, you're getting those 5-star reviews. You have that great location next to wineries, everything. It's nice and quiet out there. You're on a big plot of land.
Playing the long game.
Yeah.
Playing the long game.
It's going to happen.
Okay, Shawn, 5 DC area real estate trends.
Okay.
Number 1, everyone will talk about commissions. So by now, hopefully, if you are a home owner, if you are a home purchaser, if you are a real estate agent, you have heard about the landmark case against the National Association of Realtors, where they were held liable for at least $1.8 billion of damages. Now, we're not going to go through the whole case, but what this means for you is that commissions are changing, and there is going to be an increased downward pressure on commissions. So what that means is if you are selling, there could potentially be an opportunity for you to save money on commissions when you sell. If you are purchasing, there could be an opportunity. Shawn, help me phrase this. There could be a situation where you may have to come to the table to pay for your own representation. Is that a fair way to say that on the buy side? Because with this lawsuit, everyone's like, great, real estate commissions are coming down. But I don't think many people are talking about what'll happen when sellers choose to compensate the buyer a lower amount, and the buyer agent will request the purchaser to come to the table to fill in that buyer agent compensation.
Yeah, it's going to be talked about for a long time, and it's been talked about for the last couple of months. But what the DOJ is trying to do is decouple that commission. So right now, the seller pays all commissions. They pay the listing agent, and they put up a buyer agency compensation. It's a cooperation between buyer and seller brokers to get a property sold. And so what the DOJ is saying is, listen, we need to decouple this. We feel like homeowners, home sellers are being taken advantage of. They're paying too much in commission. So now we want to decouple this and say, buyer, you have to now pay for your own buyer's agent. If you want representation, seller, you're going to pay for the listing agent to do all that they do. Now, in one hand, it seems simple, right? It seems simple on one hand, but on the other side, all right, now this can go kind of both ways. And it's so funny whenever you look at the lawsuits and people are suing saying, well, there's a new one about Redfin, and Redfin charged her 2% to sell her house, 2% buyer agency commission. And but the thing is that went to another brokerage. It doesn't go to Redfin. So she's suing because she had to pay that to a buyer's agent. But that's the way it's been for a long time. And she signed a contract. The contract stated, hey, this is the total commission, and X amount, 2% is what they paid out, goes to the buyer's agent for compensation to help us get this deal done. So what they're saying is this can't happen anymore. Why is the seller paying all that commission when the buyer should be paying that commission. So how is it going to work? And so it's a really difficult thing to kind of figure out because we've never been in this position before. We've never had to have buyers pay their own commission. And so is this going to hurt first-time home buyers? Probably, maybe. What the DOJ is saying is we want it to be more competitive. We want the buy side to be more competitive. So the buyer's agents will go through and say, hey, I'll do this for X. When the more experienced buyer agents will say, I'm not doing it for X. That's crazy. I'll do it for Y. And so there's this thing where a buyer has to choose. Do I want to go the cheaper route or do I want to go the more experienced route? And then they have to pay that agent themselves. Do they have the money to pay thousands of dollars to an experienced agent to purchase a house? And that's the difficult thing, is because if you think about it, the more experienced buyers or the buyers that have something to sell, they can get the deal done. They have deeper pockets. They're able to pay for representation. And in the end, an unrepresented or represented buyer by somebody that's not as experienced going up against an agent that has really good experience, those other buyers are going to lose a lot of times. And what happens when they can't afford to have a buyer's agent for their representation? Because how are we going to do that? So then what might happen, what it would be that since the listing agent or the buyer, the seller is not allowed to pay the buyer's agent, in the contract that you write, you're going to have to then put a subline in the contract that says, I will give you $1 million for this house, but you're going to pay my buyer agency fee of X. So basically it's going away from the listing agreement. And you might start seeing this in the buyer or in the actual contract itself.
Actual contract as like a subsidy almost.
Like a subsidy. And so then you've got this competition where, say you're in multiple contracts, right? Do you see a problem with multiple contracts now?
Sure.
Right. Now, what would you think would be the problem?
With multiple contracts?
Multiple contracts
with
and
multiple commissions?
Right.
I mean, that's just adding another thing into the equation.
Right. So like now, so your offer could be, and you're competing against somebody and you're willing to go up to X, but then you put, I need you to pay buyer agency commission. That drops your offer, your net to the seller. So now it's going to be like the buyer and buyer agent now fighting over the commission. Oh, you lost my deal because I had to pay you and it was a subsidy, and now I can't get this house because I had to pay you. So there's going to be some lawsuits, I think, on the backside of this because of buyer and buyer agent then disagreeing on, or getting fired because they didn't get them the deal or they had to pay and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's a big mess.
This is going to all shake out eventually, and I don't quite know how this cookie is going to crumble, but we're going to figure it out. The top of mind thing for me is, if the buyer signs the buyer broker agreement, at 2.5%, and then the seller is only paying out, let's say 2%, is that buyer going to pay their buyer's agent an extra 0.5% of the sales price? I don't see a lot of first-time home buyers agreeing to that. I don't see FHA buyers doing that. VA buyers, it's not allowed with the VA loans. So, right now the commissions are baked into the sales price. And I think eventually what should happen is that commissions get baked into mortgages. Otherwise, this doesn't help first-time home buyers. It doesn't help sellers because you may lose out on that first-time home buyer market. And, ultimately that this may force buyers to, forego representation. And if the whole, idea is to have a fair playing field, I think that if we're heavily siding with one side of the transaction, then buyers may be getting a rough deal on this one.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Like, people will throw out these things like, why would you have a buyer's agent that is getting paid more to sell you a house at a higher price than at a lower price, right? So there's always that argument. Well, if we get into competition, you're paying a higher price and you're getting more money. Do you know what it comes down to? a few $100, dude. It's not like it's thousands, unless it's like you go up $200,000, and then it's a big difference. But if it's like 50, I mean, it's coming to couple $100, and I'm not caring about a few $100. I care about my time, and getting compensated for my time. And if you knew how much time we run around to try to get people into places, how many times we lose offers, how many times we have to go through this process over and over again with buyers. Yes, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes we do one and done. Sometimes it takes 15, 20. So you just
Shawn,
never know.
the narrative online is that buyer's agents just go and open the door and then collect a commission check 30 days later.
Yeah, that's all you do, Matt. You open a door. You open a door for somebody. You let them walk through. You don't say anything. Like, what do you do?
Well, we have Zillow. Why do we need real estate agents?
Right, exactly. I mean, dude, there's a lot that goes on, and we've been getting a bad rap. We get kicked in the face over and over again recently.
Who decided just to go after realtors? Like, why are realtors like the one profession that everyone's just trying to drag?
I'll tell you why. Because there's money in it, right? There's money in it that a lot of people. Why did all of the tech companies start going after real estate? Why did Zillow get in there? Because they saw that there was a lot of money to be made in there, and that's the same thing that's happening now. Is like, all right, the DOJ is going after it. And you know what I was like? All right, maybe a little conspiracy theory, but let me get into Can I get into a conspiracy theory?
Put on your tinfoil hat.
Yeah, all right. So what if, and this probably won't happen, but I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, all right, the DOJ wants to decouple commissions. But then what's going to happen with these first-time home buyers that can't afford an agent? So the DOJ or the government creates a new agency, and that agency is to represent buyers or to find people that represent buyers. And then it becomes like a contractor situation to the government, just like a contractor would be for tech services or things like that. Now they're getting their hands into the real estate services, and they're saying, well, these first-time buyers can't get a buyer's agent. We, the government, will then pay this company X amount of dollars so that they get representation. So it's just like a thought I had. I'm like, why, what if it happened this way? And it could.
I love conspiracy theories. That's a little far out for me.
Okay.
I think you're putting too much faith in the government to be able to create another organization.
Yeah, they're not very good at it.
That won't fail. So.
We'll see.
Shawn, let's move to the next trend that we're seeing in the D.C. area. New construction may ease the housing shortage a little bit. New construction is viewed as a solution to the severe housing shortage nationwide, but it may not help the Washington area much. Now, obviously, infill development in the Arlington, D.C. markets, it's rare. Okay, so you have, every now and then you have 3 townhomes together. Every now and then you have the Grove at Dominion Hills. So what do you got, like 42 houses? So you have the new construction, but inside the Beltway, what is new construction doing for supply and demand?
I don't think it's doing much, to be honest. Outside the Beltway, yeah, you can see it in more rural areas where there's land. I could see that happening, but inside the Beltway, I just don't see it because, like you said, it's areas that are, the land or the buildings are already there. So they're either revamping these buildings and selling them, or building on land that's already there. And a lot of these are apartments. We don't really see in Arlington. We don't see a lot of new condo buildings. In DC, you see the smaller ones, maybe 20 units or less. You don't see these big, huge developments for the most part anymore as much, I should say. So I don't think that that's really doing much for our inventory here. I think that would get swallowed up pretty quickly. But in other areas, I would think that it would help.
So on that note, they interviewed Heather Embry, an agent with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Premier in Falls Church. She said, it's very frustrating to see all these construction cranes around Falls Church, but they're all rental apartments. That takes away the opportunity for people to own and build wealth. So I got a few kind of issues with this. First of all, they're all rental apartments. That's because that's what the market demands. The market demands rentals. The market is showing that. You sent me an article this morning. Arlington is now the 7th most expensive rental city, air quotes, in the United States. So it would make sense that they're all apartments. What does this person want these things to be? Single family houses would be a complete waste of space, as would townhouses. Does she want these rental apartments to be condos instead? Because she says that takes away the opportunity for people to own and build wealth. I'm sorry, I'm a real estate agent, but buying a condo, a new construction condo inside the Beltway, is not the path to build wealth. You don't open up a finance book and number 1 says buy a condo to build wealth. I don't think that buying a condo and building wealth go hand in hand. I am Mr. Condo. I love condos. But if the thing is buy real estate and build wealth, that's buying a single family house. That's buying something that's less of a commodity and more rare. I don't think buying like a condo along the orange line is the solution to build wealth. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it really depends. The condos have been taking a little bit of a hit because we are seeing rises in costs and condo fees, and so values have come down. But there was a time, when we were selling condos, and you saw this when we saw the bump in Amazon. We saw a quick bam, $85,000 bump, right?
That time is over. That time
over.
came and went. That was like 2017, and then you sell in 2020. And those were accidental bumps. No one bought in 2017 thinking Amazon may open up their headquarters here. I'm going to sell in 3 years. Anyone who's made money selling a condo, there's amazing reasons to buy condos. I help people buy and sell condos every day of the week for the past 10 years. And I don't go into it saying, buy a condo, this will help you build wealth. I say, hey, buy a condo. You're going to love your lifestyle. Your neighbors are going to be quiet. There's not going to be Bud Light cans, in the hallways. You're not going to have a, rotating, round of party animals that are moving in and out of your neighbor. You're actually going to know your neighbors. There's going to be a sense of ownership, right? You're going to have a prime location. The build quality is probably going to be better. You don't buy a condo to build wealth. So I fundamentally, disagree with what this agent is saying, because it's frustrating to see these rental apartments. If anything, it's good to see these rental apartments because these people are saving money for a down payment so they can buy a house and build wealth.
Well, I mean, it could go both ways. I'm not totally against what she says. I think that, I understand where you're coming from. Single family homes have outpaced condos in value increases like for decades, right? I mean, it's way better to buy a single family home than a condo. However, if you can't afford a single family home in this house, or a single family home in this area, what are you going to do? You're going to buy a condo. And how that actually builds wealth is maybe it's not an increase in value, but what it is if you're going to stay here for 20 years, rather than paying rent every month at the seventh most expensive rental area in the nation, which could be $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month, instead you purchase a condo. And in that time frame, you're actually paying your mortgage down over and over and over again over these years. So it's a long-term game, but it can definitely build wealth because you're not just throwing the money off into the builder's hands and the big corporations' hands because you're paying their note down. And instead, what you're doing is paying your note down. So it doesn't matter where you are in the buying process. Real estate typically is a longer game. If you're going to buy and sell and then, buy a condo and sell it in 3 years, you're probably not going to make any money and it's probably not going to do much for you because you're paying commissions. There's a lot of costs that go into that. But if you are doing this in a long term and you're staying put and you have a fixed rate mortgage and maybe the mortgage rates come down, you refinance, then you're in a better position. You're paying less than the person down the street in a brand new apartment building and you're able to pay that note down. So I think that's where you're actually building wealth. Do I hate to see the apartment buildings go up? Sometimes yeah, sometimes no. I mean, I would love to see a new condo building go up in Arlington to try to sell it. But at the same time, the prices are so expensive for new condos that it's just almost most people aren't going to buy it. Like look at the Pierce, right? The Pierce, granted, is a very nice building. It's high end, but that thing was $1 million and up. And so most people can't afford that. And so the smaller affordable condos, those days are gone, right? If there was a new condo being built in Arlington right now, a one bedroom would go for, what do you think? 600,000?
Yeah, that might be high, but possibly.
Yeah,
possibly.
High fives to 600.
Depending on the square footage.
And now you can go buy a used, a resale for 400,000. So there's always a cost to new construction. I think the way to build wealth is through buying real estate. Condos typically aren't as good of an investment as a single family.
Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd be curious to hear from this agent on what she would like to see. If she's frustrated that they're all rental apartments, what she would like to see. I want to make sure I'm not taking her quotes, out of context. that takes away opportunity for people to own and build wealth. All right, let's move on to the rural rush is over. Early stage of the pandemic, remote work became available for many people, especially federal workers. Many opted to move to the exurbs. The greatest risk of return to office policies is in further out suburbs, such as Fauquier County. Fauquier had the highest price increase during the pandemic because high-income households moved out of the city and close suburbs and pushed prices higher. Now there's already been a reset, and those more distant areas have a weaker housing market, says Lisa Sturdivant. Is that how to say it? She works for Bright MLS. She's the chief economist. We get her emails once a week.
Lisa, we'll just call her Lisa.
To look at, no, give her the respect of the last name.
Speaking of, who's the girl on the front of the page of the Bright MLS? She's been there for decades. I don't know who that girl is.
No, I no idea.
You guys know.
Maybe
every time
Lisa.
we bring up Bright, it's that girl.
There's just some girl?
Yeah.
Is she a woman or a girl?
She's a woman.
She's a woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's on our screen page every day. But I have no idea who she is. She's been there for years.
Shawn, talk to me about the rural rush. What are you seeing?
Yeah, the rural rush. I'm not seeing it as much. It's true. We did see a huge spike in values. The values, if you look at, inside the Beltway compared to outside the Beltway, how much increase in value happened in comparison? It was much higher in the exurbs, the outer areas, because everybody was moving out because work-life balance has changed. And there's a lot of articles that still say that working in an office is dead. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be the same. So I wonder if it's actually over. Yes, I think the huge price increases are over. The big rush is over, but I still think that people are... They always have done that migration. They go from DC to Arlington, then from Arlington to Lees or Ashburn. They always make that trend out as their lives change and they want more space. And so I think there's always going to be that. There are people that, like myself, I want to raise my family here in Arlington and be close to everything. Yeah, we could afford more house out there, but this is where my business is. This is where my work is. I want to stay close to work. So I think there's always going to be those people. So what I would say is, yes, I think it's slowed down. I think it's always going to be there, but the big rush is definitely over.
I think what's happened in the past couple of years is we've just completely normalized, living in these further out locations. And now we're starting to see, they're not super commuters, but they're logging some miles. I went down to the Charlottesville area the other day. I'm driving down 29 South, and I'm just seeing so bumper to bumper traffic, from Warrenton, Culpeper up into Manassas. And I've seen a couple videos on TikTok where people in like Ohio commute to like New York City like once or twice a week.
Possible.
There's someone in like Delaware that commutes to New York every single day. They hop on the train at 6 a.m., the Amtrak, and then they're in, FIDI at 9 a.m.
I used to do it.
I think that, growing up, when someone moved like very far out, they're like, oh my gosh, they moved to Reston. And it's now Reston is just a stone's throw away. So now we're seeing, Ashburn, Leesburg, Brambleton, Aldie, Stone Ridge as just like normal run-of-the-mill places, and they're almost not even exurbs anymore. Like, sure, they're whatever you want to call them, but now they're becoming closer and closer as the development moves out even further. So I don't know if I had a point to this, but what I was looking for a post on Nextdoor where I joined the Charlottesville Nextdoor because I have a house down in the area, and the next door for Charlottesville is an absolute show. It is just chaos, as you may expect if you've ever been on Nextdoor.
Chaos everywhere.
And there was an interesting post, as there tend to be, and someone commented something like, I've lived in, and it was like a small town. I don't know if it was Somerset or Orange. I've lived in said small town for the past 10 years, and I just saw new plans for new apartments, and we don't need any more development. Like, it's good the way things are. And someone commented like, okay, I've lived here for 25 years. Like, did you close the proverbial development door like the second you came here? And so all these areas are always in a state of change. And to to move to an area and then be there for like X number of years and then just say this is how it's always going to be. It kind of just struck me the wrong way.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just having a conversation today with this agent down in Ocean Pines, Ocean City, and she's like, I was like, how do you do HOA documents down there? And she's like, oh yeah, it's a book, and we'll just scan it in and send it to you. And I was like, wow, you guys are still doing that? And she's like, yeah, it's small town charm. People love the small town charm. They move here for it, and then they try to change it. Right. And so I'm like, I get it. Everybody wants to try to change their way of living, but everything's changing. It's a constant influx, outflux of change. And, talking about like going from further out, it's funny because my far out people are like, I've had two that just recently said, we want to go out even further. Right. So they went from Sterling to Lovettsville. And then I had somebody call me and say, oh, we moved down to Williamsburg. We hate the schools down here. We want to move back up. They're moving to Lovettsville, right? And then I had my electrician, my buddy, move down to Virginia Beach. And he's like, you know what? We thought this was going to be the right move, but my daughter just hates the schools. Like she doesn't have the friends that she had up there. So we're going to come back. So there's always life changes. There's always things that are going to happen. There's always, the grass is always greener on the other side. And then when you get there, you're like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I should move back.
Lovettsville. Yeah. Everyone's moving to Lovettsville. Dude, maybe Lovettsville is going to be like low key the most, like the next cool place in the Northern Virginia air quotes area. Dude, have you been to Lovettsville?
I've just a couple times in the last,
have you driven like kind of the downtown kind of area? What's it like?
Right
Vibey? Is it a vibe?
It's cute, man. Yeah. The thing is out there, they have like, it's a slower pace. It's big country, the country, there's farms. But there's also breweries. There's also wineries. There's a lot to do out there in that regard. So it's like you're trading in one lifestyle for another. And the funny thing is there's still HOAs out there. My one client bought in an HOA and didn't want to buy in an HOA, but it just turned out that that's where that property was. And then there's other people that are buying, they could have chickens in their front yard, right? So,
do we think Lovettsville is like the hidden gem of the greater Northern Virginia area?
I don't want to give up the spoil. I don't know. I mean, like it's pretty good.
Hey, don't gatekeep a good spot.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It's very nice. I mean, for me, I couldn't do it, right? I mean, just because of where my business is, but you can see the allure for sure. It's nice. It's quiet.
You could get a little cottage out there in the country. Yeah. Actually, I looked at Lovettsville pricing a while ago, and it's gone up. Northern Virginia is Northern Virginia.
Oh yeah, it's kicking.
All right. So next item on the Washingtonian article, which is listed and linked below, mortgage rates may continue to dip. Continue to dip, dude. I keep saying that they're going to go down, and I guess they went down ever so slightly, right? They kind of went up a lot recently, and now they're hovering just below 7%. I don't have much to say simply because I'm not Jerome Powell. I'm not good. The Shawn and Matt show is not the place to go if you want to know whether interest rates are going to go up or down. Everyone knows that already. But what I do know is that the most properties in the Northern Virginia area come on the market in April. Shawn, let me see if I can get you a graph real quick. So kind of what I'm getting at is, look at this graph at the bottom here. You see how the T3 home demand index spikes from all the way down from the slow of January all the way up to the high point here.
Yep.
The interest rates are going to do what they're going to do. But if we see a flood of properties come on in April, which we do every year, I don't give a crap about these articles that say mortgage demand drops, because guess what? Mortgage demand is going to rise when good properties come on the market. The reality is, whatever the interest rates are come April, mortgage demand's going up.
Absolutely. I mean, this happens every year. It's amazing. That graph is actually amazing because it literally goes from the lowest point in a year, or maybe over a year, right, to the highest point within a month. And that's showing you the spring market. That's showing you, all right, December, January, where everybody's like still on vacation. And then all of a sudden February crushes in. We're seeing multiple contracts, and it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. Right now it's high sixes. We were down into the mid sixes, lower sixes at some point, and they creeped back up. And let's be honest, people were still buying hard in mid sevens, close to 8. they're still buying hard. I'm looking at property. I'm at like 7 because it's a second property. It's like 7.6%, right? But that's the reality of if you want to purchase something. And there's a lot of back and forth on this. Is like, interest rates will come down. Oh, they're going up. Nobody knows. But the reality is, right now it's still hard to find and buy a property, and it's the low inventory that's driving the markets pretty much everywhere.
Well, there's almost an argument to be made that interest rates matter more to home sellers than they do to buyers, because half of the articles out there that are opinions are saying, I'm locked in to a 3-point fill in the blank % loan. My wife wants to move. I want to move. We need a bigger this. We need to move for reasons. But I can't stomach the idea of paying 6.5%, of paying 7%. So, we're saying, hey, interest rates don't really matter if a good house comes on the market. But reality is, interest rates, go down, and you're going to see not only more people buying, but more homeowners feeling more comfortable selling, knowing that delta, that mental delta between the 3.5 to 6.5 is going to be easier to swallow.
It's so true, because I was just reading an article about this morning, and I think it was in California or something. The real estate agent was like, this year's going to be so tough because it's so hard to get the listings, because the only people that are selling are the dead people, right? The people that have died and the estates are selling, or the divorces, because everybody else is like, I'm locked in at 3%. Why am I going to go to 6.5 to 7%? It doesn't make financial sense to do that. But on the other hand, like we were saying before, people are tired. People's lives go quickly, right? And when they want to move, they say, forget it. I'm done. I need to move. I'm tired of waiting. I don't want to prolong my life anymore. I need to get to the beach. I need to get to my dream house. I need to go here. So they'll start paying it. They'll start selling it. It's always going to be lack of inventory. We're going to see that for a long time. Hopefully interest rates do come down and people can refinance and people can start selling. We'll see a little bit more inventory.
Last item in the article, condos are cooling off. Demand for condominiums is down, especially for one bedrooms. They interviewed Morgan Knoll of Remax Gateway. In DC, there's more inventory for condos than normal. Condos typically appeal to first-time home buyers, but higher mortgage rates hit first-time home buyers harder. Plus, it's often cheaper for them to rent than own. I think Morgan Knoll nails it here. We had a condo listed in Courthouse. Gorgeous condo, beautiful view, balcony, parking, storage, renovate, had the works. Maybe you want to do a couple cosmetic things. And we were just getting obliterated by the interest rate. The interest rate kept going up. Monthly payments kept going up. And, there's an apartment building across the street that's newer, that's offering lease incentives, that, has got the shiny kind of feel to it. And that's tough, because when you do the math, and you say, hey, do you want to pay $3,800 a month for this 2-bedroom, or you go across the street and you pay like $3,200 a month? Now, what that apartment complex isn't going to tell you is that they're going to raise the rent on you 7 to 9% the next year and every year after that.
Yep.
When you rent from a big apartment corporation. But that's neither here nor there. But when you're looking at the segments of the market that are most affected by the interest rates, the crosshairs go to the condos, and especially the 1-bedroom condos.
Yeah, and you have to differentiate between DC, Arlington, and then out further in the condo market, where DC is kind of started to get flooded with a lot more inventory. They have more inventory, I would say, and I don't know the exact numbers, but just from what I'm hearing, they have more inventory than we're used to here. So they're struggling a little bit more than us in Arlington. Now, our Arlington condo market is actually pretty low at this time. We don't have a lot of inventory.
You're bringing all the inventory. You are the inventory. Yeah, how many you got? Like 5 coming on?
I got about 5 coming on. Yeah, and that's good, because people say the condo market is struggling. It's not. It's still fine. What it's not is the single family market. The single family market, we're seeing 15 contracts and prices go crazy. The condo market, we're seeing a few contracts. Like, I think that, for example, I put one on this morning. This morning, by the time I got here, it's 1 o'clock. I already had 5 scheduled showings for this property. And the key is you got to make it look good. You have to make it look good. You have to stage it. And so we took our time to get to market. But that shows you five showings in one day is very strong for the condo market. And we haven't seen that in a while. So that's the rush of the spring market. That's the lack of inventory in the Arlington market. But he's right in the fact that the condos are slower and suffer more than the single family market.
I can't wait for more condos to come on the market, specifically in Roslyn and in my building, because they get scooped up so quickly. There is a demand for condos. And, sure, I went on the diatribe earlier about condos building wealth, but there's something to be said about peace of mind. Like you're buying peace of mind. You're buying the stability. And, it got me thinking of like, there was an article a while ago about this couple in New York City who were renting an apartment, and they went through like an entire renovation. They spent like $100,000 or something. It's just something ridiculous. And I was thinking, okay, well, and they were getting roasted in the comments. Like, they don't even own it. Why would they pay? And I was thinking, maybe that made them happy.
Yeah.
Like maybe spending the money made them happy. And, Ramit Sethi's favorite line is like, when you go out to eat at a restaurant, are you wasting money? Because you could have just ate cheaper at your house. Oh, well, that's different. That's a different experience. That's different. Well, same thing with renting versus buying. There's much different benefits you get from renting versus buying. And it reminds me of this article from NBC News. Forget new bathrooms, just fix the faucet. Consumers take a break from home renovations. So during the pandemic, lots of people were doing these huge renovations, but now, it's kind of tailed off a little bit, and people are doing the minor renovation. And dude, I've done the 2 shower heads, I've done faucets. We're gonna do some light fixtures. Probably spend like a couple $1,000s on a rental. And the way I see it is, this is my happiness. This is my life.
That nice shower with that big shower head hitting you.
I could get hit by a bus like tomorrow, not to get too morbid, but I know the morning of, I had a great shower. Like, I washed my hands with great water pressure.
I'll tell you what.
The lighting, the Kelvin is perfect. The lights aren't flickering. Like, I'm paying for my happiness.
Well, that's the thing is, you have to take care of your rental too. I mean, I go into places all the time and I'm like, what are you living in? You didn't change the light bulb. All your light bulbs are out. Why can't you just change your freaking light bulb? If your shower sucks, change the fixture. There's nothing better than coming to Matt's house and I turn on the hot water and it's instant freaking hot water. Like my house, I have a tankless water heater, and I could be up on my top level. I could turn on the water. I'm like, my hands are freezing. I'm waiting for that water to come.
And you have instant?
Yeah, but instant, it still has to travel through a mile of pipes to get to your thing, right? And like, it's cold until it gets there. So, but yours is like, man, it's hot.
My fiance says it gets hot too quickly.
It's instant. It's the
no,
quickest.
She says it gets hot too quickly, and then you have to turn on the cold water to balance out the hot.
Yeah.
And then now you're using too much water.
Yeah.
So I'm like, girl, people pay thousands of dollars to get instant hot water.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I think about this all the time. One, I'm paying for less gas to heat a water, right? That is typically your water heater is just a tub sitting there that's constantly being heated by gas or electric, whatever. But it's got to stay at a certain temperature. But the tankless is instant. So like as soon as you turn on that water, that gas is firing as quickly as you can. It's heating that water up and it's getting it up to you. But I've got to run the water for a long time to get that thing up there, and I'm wasting all this water. Then what does Arlington do? They charge you, hey, your water goes up, exponentially more if you're using more than you're supposed to, right? So the bill goes up. So I'm like, man, am I actually saving because of this?
Perks of being in a condo.
Yeah, there you go.
Hot water.
But the other thing I was thinking of with the condo living is that you brought up a really good point with renting and renting in these new buildings that are being built everywhere. The builder's always going to give you an incentive to come in. Hey, look at this. We're going to give you a free rent or like free 2 months, or your rent's going to be X for the first year. And then the next year they jack it up.
You always get dinged on the back end.
You always
they make
get dinged.
up for it.
And you know what? They keep you in there because you're like, it's $500 more a month, but do I really want to go spend $5,000 to go move somewhere else? I'll just stay put. And that's how they get you. That's the key goes back to ownership. Ownership, unless you've got a an adjustable rate mortgage, your mortgage is basically staying the same.
Basically,
except,
a little caveat. No, that's good. That's smart.
Except for your HO or your condo dues, inflation, gas, expenses, they're going up. And what else?
Little
My
property
favorite thing?
tax.
Property
tax action.
Everybody's property taxes are going up. So you know what? You might have a point there, Matt. Renting might be good. You know, hey, it's fine.
It's never the extremes. It's never you should always buy. Dude, I had someone reach out to me yesterday, and they were like, they sent me a listing. His former client, great dude in the military, and he's like, hey, this place looks cool. What do you think about him coming back to the area? Like, should I buy this? And I'm like, well, is it just you? Yeah. Okay. When are you leaving? 2 years later. And I was like, okay, dude. If you're looking, I didn't call my client dude, but I was like, all right, if you're looking to buy a studio condo and you're looking to sell it 2 years later, guess what? Go to the corporate apartment.
Yes.
Find the 2-year lease. Get 4 months of rent free. Get 2 months of rent free. Get free parking and live it up. Because by the time you do 2 transactions in 2 years for a condo that's priced under $200,000, you're losing money.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
The extremes, the always buy or never buy a house, there's truth in that. Because, okay, yeah, buy a house, homeowners have more wealth than renters. Realtors love to jam that stat down everyone's throat. You know, rents, you can save up money, you can invest, but there's always a middle ground. So, Shawn, do you have, going back to the article here, I'm doing like minor home condo renovations. I love my landlord. He hasn't raised the rent on me once in many years.
Just that quiet, Matt.
Yeah, I know. Maybe he's watching.
Hopefully he doesn't want.
You know, he'll come over every now and then. He's like, wow, this place is really clean.
Yeah.
Like it's kept up.
He wants to keep you here because you're taking immaculate care of this place.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
So going back to the article, do you have, and you own your house. Mm-hmm. It's an older house that was completely renovated, but maybe there are things that you want to do. Have you gone out and considered renovations and then kind of maybe scaled back and are now looking the DIY route? Where are you at with
yeah, I mean, costs have gone up and you've got to be careful. I'm always wanting to do stuff to my house because that's just what I do. I like changing things. I like paint color different. But the one thing that people don't get is sometimes those builders, they'll use the builder grade paint. And when you have 2 kids running through and they're touching the walls and stuff, that paint does not hold up. You try to get a smudge off the wall, it doesn't come out. You have to tell them to pay, hey, I want the emerald or the higher grade paint than the builder grade because the builder grade is awful. So I basically already had to repaint. I repainted the main level and the upstairs, but I'm not done.
Well, you did in your sunroom area, you did like a cool wall and like maybe a new light fixture or something. Do you have any other like bigger projects where you were considering a large, like maybe a backyard deck or something like that?
Yeah, I squashed that for now, just because like I think it can wait. I am looking. The funny thing is when you buy a home like this, and it was originally built in the 40s, and added on, but you still have those old aspects to it. The main thing that I'm seeing right now, especially when you go through a cold winter, is like, man, it's drafty in certain parts of this place. So now I want to spend the money in getting it like tight, right? No more drafts. And you don't really see that improvement. Well, you feel the improvement.
You can
don't see it.
Like a draft audit. Have you seen those? Like the whole fan, you close all the windows, you put the fan in the front
I don't know
door.
about this one. No, tell me more.
Yeah, well, that's essentially it. You close all of the areas, and then there's like a fan that pushes air through, and then somehow they measure the home efficiency, and it'll show you where the defects are, where you're essentially losing energy. Yeah. So you're trying to heat your house, and all the air is going out the single pane window, or all the air is going out, big crack in the door.
Yeah, I know where some of those are because when I put my face up to it, my hair starts blowing. Right?
Blowing?
I'm joking.
Oh my goodness. Well, dude, let me introduce you to the caulking aisle of Lowe's,
right?
Or the plastic. It looks kind of janky, like the plastic window seal.
Yeah, well, I do have to get my one front window, and you know what? The other thing is my front door, like the seal underneath it. I have to change that out. I know I have to do that, but you got to take the door off and like. I don't want to do that. I've never done it.
You have to take the door. You don't have to take the door off.
I think so. I've never done it. I researched it online. I was like, I ain't taking no door off. But The other thing I was thinking about doing was going to get an infrared thing, right? You can go and get an infrared. So our home inspectors will do an infrared scan of your potential purchase, and they're able to see the hot and cold differences. Is there a leak? Is there water through infrared? And so I was like, all right, I'll go spend $150, $200 on a little infrared wand and just walk through my house, and I'll be able to locate all of the areas that are problematic. But on the other hand, I could just go get a professional company to come over and say, we're going to seal this up, seal this up, seal this up. So I think that, to long story short, I think that's where my money's going this summer or this spring. The other thing is my garage. I know it's weird, but I want to spend money on my garage. I want to get that looking better.
What do you want to do?
I want to put shelves, put all my junk in shelves so that it doesn't look bad whenever you open the garage
So is this
door.
a DIY?
No, I'll probably get our contractor to do it because, I mean, like he's pretty affordable.
How comfortable are you with a hammer in your hand?
I'm very comfortable.
Like
honestly.
hammer, screwdriver?
I used to do this when I was young. I grew up in a construction family. So like I love creating things, building things, but it's been so long and it's my house. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, DIY dude. Huh?
If it's like slightly uneven, you'll notice it every single time.
Man, like if I did that, I would just kill myself. So I think I could, like he was saying, I'd just pull all this drywall off of the garage and I'd re-drywall it. And I'm like, well, the main thing is I need the ceiling because right now in my garage, it's a drop ceiling. So I need that fire rated and I need more insulation in there because my son's room's right above it. So it's cooler, right? So anyways, those are the little things. When you're a homeowner, when you invest in property, there's always going to be things that you should be doing to make your house better. And there's a lot of times we go into houses and we know that these people haven't done anything in 20 years. So now what's our job? Sorry, dude, you got to do it now. I mean, in order for you to get top dollar, you're going to have to put the money into this place so that you can actually sell it. And that's our job. And that's what we do well, I think, because I don't like to sell ugly houses personally. No.
Well, yeah, the article goes on to say that, because of the pandemic, everyone wanted a nicely renovated house, and now things are starting to slow down. So,
yeah, I mean, everything's more expensive. You know? So
more DIY.
DIY?
Except for Shawn.
Well, I got to start doing it. I just got to get my mind there and just do it. That's the
like
problem.
Small projects.
Yeah, when you get home, you're tired.
I
right?
did kitchen faucet. I mean, it took me longer than I'd like to admit, but it's very hard to mess up.
Yeah.
A goes into B. It's like use a wrench a couple times.
It's just like anything. Like if you get a new shelf or like a new couch or something, you have to build it. New table. You build it. The first time you build it, it's like agonizing, but you could do it the second time really easily.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, like kitchen faucet, A goes into B. I asked a couple of years ago, I had a condo in Alexandria that we were selling. They were completely renovating it. And I went in while they were doing the kitchen cabinets. And I was like, dude, this is like so impressive how you're hanging these kitchen cabinets. Like, how do you do it? The guy goes like, oh, A goes into B. Like, I just follow the directions, A, B, C, D. And I'm like, man, am I just mentally blockading myself into not being able to doing these really cool projects that I could save a lot of money on?
And it's fun to do it. Honestly, when you start doing these things, I'm like, man, I love doing it. I love building things. But reality is if I would just watch somebody do it once or actually help them do it and then figure it out, then it's a lot easier. But most people think it's so difficult to change something. They'll call somebody to change a flapper in your freaking toilet.
Change a light bulb.
Dude, yeah. Change a light bulb. Change a smoke alarm. It's not hard. You're plugging things in and it's done. But there's a lot of people that just never think that way, and they never will, and they'll never go beyond to try to do something themselves. And
drop a comment down below if you're a DIYer.
Yeah.
Would love to hear from those DIYers.
Matt.
YouTube makes things. Yeah,
I used to paint my house all the time. I never do it anymore because I'm like, I don't have time. But like, maybe I should. I'm going to paint my house today.
Shawn's motivated. Let's move on to In or Out. Shawn,
okay, yeah.
Got a house that we could walk to from this location.
Yeah.
So let me introduce you to this historic Georgetown mansion. It's listed for $16 million. It is 8 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, 9,000 square feet. It's believed to be one of the oldest houses in the neighborhood, a late 18th century Georgetown mansion that was built by a Revolutionary War hero and later served as the guest house for White House visitors while the Blair House was under renovation. It is on the market for $16 million, $15,995. Kim Gibson and Eileen McGrath of Washington Fine Properties are the listing agents. It's one of the few freestanding, Shawn, late 18th century houses left in the western part of Georgetown. And it's believed to be the fourth oldest home in the neighborhood. It's got, Shawn, it's got a pool in the back. It's got 8 bedrooms, 9,000 square feet. It even has a tower that was used to overlook the Potomac River to see when boats were arriving in Georgetown. It includes 41-foot swimming pool and the before-mentioned octagonal watchtower where early owners could watch the boats come into Georgetown Harbor. For Georgetown, a 3-car garage and additional parking for 3 cars completes this extraordinary offering. It's called Prospect House for $15,995,000. Are you in or out on Prospect House in Georgetown?
Wow, this is you bring up difficult decisions here, Matt. Typically, I am not into kind of the older classic homes because, you know, sometimes there's a lot of work or I like the modern style, but this is really, really nice. I mean, Georgetown, would I really want to live in Georgetown right now? No, but like this is an amazing...
What's wrong with Georgetown?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Georgetown. It's just, you know, I'm in Arlington.
So what's wrong with Georgetown is usually, for me, it's the parking.
Yeah.
And
but you've got
this
3-car garage.
This one has 3, because with Georgetown, it's always like, do you really want to pay $3 million in the park on the street? Which is fair.
Yeah.
The answer is no. But dude, you got a garage.
You got a garage. So you got walkability. You've got the biggest house that I've ever heard of. You've got landscaped grounds that are unbelievable. It's like you're in a gated little thing. You've got a pool. You got a pool in Georgetown. So my hammer is down. I'm buying it.
You're in.
Yeah, I'm in.
I feel like it's hard to get you in on a DC property.
It is, but this is something unique. I think it's resellable. It's not something I want right now, but I'm buying it because it's rare. It's the opportunity. When it comes up, you have to hammer it down. It's got a lot of great features to it. Very classically done. Multiple fireplaces. You got little decks off the side. It's beautiful. What's not to love about this, right?
So I believe this is the federal style house.
Federal.
I think there's about 5 different housing styles in Georgetown. I believe this is federal style. Now,
it's unreal.
For me, for Georgetown, I usually prefer a little more of, you know, the East Village of Georgetown. So think east of Wisconsin, where you have, you know, Olive Street, where you have Rose Park. And this is on Prospect. So this is right across the bridge. So the downside to me is you're about 2 blocks away from Georgetown University. So you may have a lot of foot traffic of young Georgetown students at odd hours, you know, doing Georgetown student things. Other than that, Shawn, I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
You know, this type of freestanding property, you know, essentially not a row home. The 3-car garage, which is simply unheard of in Georgetown. You say it's, you know, maybe the largest house. I know we did the Jackie Kennedy, you know, combination house a few months ago. I think that might have been like in the 20 million range though.
Really? That was such a cool shot though, with that little walkway that goes to the turret thing. That's such a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
So cool.
So, you know, you had mentioned it before, but the gardens outside the pool, you know, I'm all in on this. You got to do some stuff on the inside. I wouldn't expect anything less with an older Georgetown house like this. But I love the location. I'll maybe give the location like a B. But everything else I simply love.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, let us know if you're in or out in the comments section below. And for Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.